So welcome back to our latest Commemorative Science Tutor podcast. And today we're talking to Pablo Marinho, so a very experienced kinetic control tutor, movement science practitioner tutor, and one of our TPM consultants as well. So Pablo, hello.
Hi, hello, Lincoln. How are you doing?
How you going?
I'm excellent. Happy to be here.
Great. And actually, just letting everybody know, where actually is here? So where actually are you?
Yes, I'm in Barcelona. Currently living in Barcelona. Yes, it's been almost 6 years now.
Yes, you've moved around a little bit. I know that. So originally you are from where?
Yeah, I used to live in Rio. That's Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. So that's my city where I was born, where I was raised, and got my first educations within physiotherapy. And then about 6 years ago, I moved to Spain.
Excellent.
And I've been here since then.
Okay. And we can see from your tutor profile that, you clearly speak English, Portuguese, Spanish. So, and obviously you're very well traveled. So we'll explore some of those elements within this conversation. Excellent. So you just mentioned there actually your education that was in Brazil. And so one question I'd like to sort of start with is why physiotherapy? So why do you get involved in this particular profession in the first place?
Well, actually, at the time, it's very curious. I didn't know exactly what physiotherapy was, but I was looking for something related to sports, to understand a little bit more the human body, how it worked. And I've always enjoyed doing sports. And I don't know, physiotherapy just came across. And right at the beginning, I figured out that was exactly right what I wanted to do. So it was the right choice, let's say.
So within the commemorative science approach and within kinetic control and these different elements of what we do, there's obviously a very big focus on this qualitative approach to movement assessment and interventions, motor learning interventions. How much of that was actually in your sort of undergrad in terms of exercise delivery, exercise design, those components?
Well, actually not a lot. My graduation was very, let's say, in terms of musculoskeletal care, it was very monotherapy based, postural education at the time. And really the first time that I heard about, let's say, stabilizing muscles, really learned in 2006 when I took a Pilates course.
And then where was your first physio role? So you've now graduated, you've moved into private practice, I guess. So yeah, what was that like?
Well, it was very exciting. I started working in the same clinic that I did my practices. It was a sports physiotherapy clinic from the university. It was kind of school clinic, and it was very cool to work there. To have been for a year and a half doing practices and then start working at that clinic. It was quite nice. And at the time, I finished university and I entered osteopathy. So I started to study osteopathy.
Transitioning then into that sports physio practice. So clearly going down the MSK route at that time, and then also alongside this, you're starting to further develop sort of the hands-on approach with the osteopathy. Okay, so that's sort of taken us down to maybe sort of slightly different route where this is going to probably end up very soon. So when was the first time then you were sort of exposed to this idea of kinetic control? Because at this moment you're in a sports physio clinic. Well, that's got a movement component, let's say, but then you're starting to apply again more sort of hands-on, which is no bad thing at all. But I guess it's a bit more different. It's a bit different to what we're sort of going to consider. So yeah, when were you first then exposed to this idea of what kinetic control was going to present?
Well, yeah, exactly. I was very excited with the osteopathy, learning a lot about everything that the university didn't give me. Let's say getting deeper into anatomy, getting deeper into immunotherapy, biomechanics, clinical reasoning, but that was it. So my first year, very excited. Then I got this first touch with movement, with muscles, with this Pilates course that I took. That was January 2006, and then in August, I took my first kinetic control course in Rio. So from that Pilates course, that started to give me, let's say, a taste of what I could be doing actively with a patient. So not to just rely on passive treatments, because that was always kind of a feeling that was something missing. So I remember treating shoulders, for example, looking at the scapula and thinking, what can I do more here? Because I cannot release that much hair. So yeah, then I found out that was a kinetic control course about to happen, and that was when everything changed and took my attention completely. Yeah, the course was Diane Andreotti was the main tutor at the time, from Switzerland, and it was translated by Elisangela Boff, that it's a Brazilian tutor that lives in Italy.
Okay, brilliant. So that first exposure to Kinetic Control 2006 then, and seeing this was another way to augment what you were doing already. And
exactly. Learning a lot.
Okay, yeah.
And that was August. So that's
okay. Yep.
That was August, and in October, I was landing in the UK to take further courses.
Right. Wow. So that was a massive switch in
yes,
how you were doing and what you were doing. So then the October course. So what can you tell us about that then?
Well, yes, I spent 40 days in the UK traveling around to follow the course agenda. Because at the time we didn't have the movement solution, so it was all weekend courses. So I traveled, taking different modules in different cities. So I went to Bournemouth, to Manchester, to Birmingham, to London, and it was quite an adventure.
It's amazing, Pablo. I didn't know that. So you did this sort of grand UK tour, and weekend by weekend, you were going through the Kinetic Control courses. When you then completed this process, and you're now, I guess, going back to Brazil, what's then changed in your practice?
Well, it changed a lot because I was then with these different approaches going parallel to each other. The osteopathy, the kinetic control. Then I moved to another city. I moved to the capital, to Brasilia. And it got harder to keep up with the osteopathy because we didn't have a group there. So I had to travel to Rio every time there was a module. So that made it quite hard to continue. And then I dropped the osteopathy. So it was 2.5 years of that. And then from that point, I started to focus more on the kind of kinetic control line of work. And then in 2010, Sarah Motram came to Brazil to teach a course in Rio, and I was invited to translate the course. And at that moment, Sarah made the invitation for me to join the team and start training to become a tutor.
So by that time, you've had sort of 3 or 4 years of application of this clinically.
Exactly.
And you've gone through now doing this a lot as a clinician, and then there's this invitation to start to join the tutor teams, that tutor development program, to get on board and deliver the courses. And was it a case that you were always going, I want to teach this, or was it case, oh, actually, this invitation, yeah, that's a good thing, and yeah, I should consider teaching, or was it something you always wanted to do?
Well, teaching was always there. I always wanted to teach. Let's say since high school, I always wanted to, at different times, wishing to teach different things. But yeah, teaching was always in my head. That was always a goal that I wanted. So when I got the invitation, I jumped
Right.
with everything.
So there's that consistency of wanting to get involved in teaching, and then it been sort of nicely combined with kinetic control as that opportunity. And then the stages of development, then going through the process of becoming a tutor. And yeah, I guess the kinetic control tutor exam is not an easy one. It's quite a challenge, that exam. How was that experience?
Well, it was a hard one with language barrier, and it was quite a challenge. But yeah, I made it. I was very focused on becoming a tutor and lead the courses in Brazil and in South America to try to expand the concept in the continent. And that was my main focus. So yeah.
So taking kinetic control to South America was a big aim, and so now you've gone through the tutor development plan, you've got that exam sorted, and how was the first course? So you're there on your own delivering kinetic control. How was this experience?
Yeah, it was very exciting. My first course was with Elisangela, actually, with Elisa. We shared the course in Brasilia with a nice group of physios. So we did the movement solution there. And on the same year, I was invited to teach in Venezuela as well, in Caracas. So that course, another movement solution, and I shared with Michal Adala, that teaches here in Spain and in Poland. So I did 2 modules, and he did one module all into 2012. So
very nice. So having a chance to teach alongside others is always a very good developmental experience. So I can see the benefit of that.
Yes, learning a lot from them, definitely.
All right. So then, how did it go next? Because I know sort of 2012, then you delivering these modules, and then you've clearly traveled a lot and delivered kinetic control in a lot of different territories and done this in a number of different ways. So how do things go next in terms of this your tutoring development?
Yeah, well, from that experience, then I started to be contacted by other organizers, looking for connections, and then I got the invitation to go to Peru, while teaching kinetic control in different cities in Brazil as well. I started to teach in Belo Horizonte in Brazil, that got a lot of demand. I teach a lot of modules in that city. Then this Peru, and then came Ecuador and Mexico, and from time to time starting to expand. And then 2016, I got the invitation to go to China, that I ended up going around 4 or 5 times. And yeah, then starting to expand, let's say, my reach with territories, which was very exciting experience.
So yes, I mean, again, I think you're probably one of the most well-traveled of the whole tutor team, and you've probably taught, probably the broadest range of clinicians coming through the KC process. So with that exposure you've had around the world, so alongside now Kinetic Control, because clearly here, 2016, you're a very well-established tutor delivering globally on the program, and alongside this as well, I know there's also the performance matrix component. So as a sort of a sister element to what we do is this use of the sort of movement assessment tool, the system. So again, how is your development with TPM going at this time?
Well, yes, the TPM came a little bit later, a couple of years after I got my my accreditation as a tutor for Kinetic Control, and at the time the system was changing a little bit, and it was really amazing to have the experience to start working with TPM, because it's a little bit different. It's, let's say, a bit more straightforward because it's not rehab, it's not treatment, and we have a screening system, and it was just an amazing experience in learning a lot more about movement. So it was kind of another learning jump with experience working with the TPM. And actually, on that process to become a tutor consultant for TPM, I got the experience going to South Africa with Jacqueline Swart, one of our tutors, and that was the first time I really taught something in English, because I got to travel there to do a process of the training, and she booked a lecture for me to present to a large group of people, which was very interesting that she managed to get so many people in the room to hear me speaking about movement. And that was really the first time I started to teach in English, when I got myself in the corner and I had no other way but to.
Right. But so again, so I guess the assumption was here all the way through has been, Pablo's teaching, he's going to contribute tutor, but we never actually sort of thought about that transition to teaching in another language, which again is something I could not even consider. So again, an amazing step there, and to teach this in another language. So yeah, incredibly impressive. So where we are now, Pablo, we're in 2023. We've gone through this very extensive development program, becoming a KC tutor, delivering TPM, delivering in different languages, delivering globally to a wide range of different clinicians. And now in 2023, sort of what are you delivering now in terms of tutoring, and where do you think things are going next? So first, what's the current schedule looking like?
Well, yes, we have now the Movement Science Practitioner series, which is, again, very excited to be teaching that system as well. That Sarah did an amazing job developing it, and focusing on Pilates instructors and other movement professionals. And nowadays, I have this blend between focusing on Kinetic Control and the MSP. And I've been teaching. I managed to came back to Venezuela after 10 years. So in 2021, I did teach a course there with a lot of demand. So we had to double the course to do 2 groups with the same modules. And I have been 5 times there from 2021 and now 2023. So working again after the pandemic, let's say, I've been traveling a little bit less, but yes, teaching Kinetic Control and the Movement Science Practitioner here in Spain and in Venezuela, and trying to get the system to other countries as well.
Is that expansion plan continues now with a bigger range of courses to offer? So KC and also the movement science practitioner offering.
Exactly.
And then what's next? So looking a little bit further ahead, where do you see now this? Let's talk about the approach. Where do you see this qualitative approach to movement assessment going next? I guess with sort of new technologies coming along the way, how do you think things are going to change within clinical practice for this?
Well, yes, I think we are starting to get more research into qualitative assessment of movement, and that's actually one of my goals for the future now. So I'm starting a master's now, and at the University of Blanquerna here in Barcelona. And one of my goals is to start to do research, to study movement within different groups of people. And the goal is to start with the dancers, looking at dancers, and maybe for the future look at circus artists as well, because I think it's two groups that have been missing a little bit from the research. So the goal is to try to look at how they have been managing in terms of movement quality, movement performance, and risk of injury. And yeah, looking at how can we identify individual needs to be applied in clinical practice, and help practitioners manage movement in a better way.
So adding to the body of research, and that's always going to be a positive step to offer a greater evidence base for something, I guess, we see applied and having positive outcomes, but having a stronger base for this, exactly, would be very important. And certainly with that group you've mentioned, sort of dancers, we have seen an increase in the research around this group, but for somebody where movement is so important, and specific types of movement with a focus on how they move, and then this maybe disconnects with the amount of literature there is on injury with this group, that would be an important part to fill in the research. So then finally, just coming around to, I guess, this idea of movement health within sort of clinical practice, how this is used. And again, you talked there about adding to the research, but what do you see as an experienced clinician, experienced tutor? What do you see as maybe sort of the trends coming along in the next sort of 5 years or so for this approach? And again, maybe how it works alongside other technologies.
Well, yes, I think that's the future, the individualization of the approach. So from looking just broadly and start focusing on the individual. I think that's where the research is starting to go within sports in general. So we used to have a lot of research looking for general information, general data of a wider group, and I think researchers are now starting to try to get, let's say, closer to each individual. So how can we identify more individual needs, which is a challenge within research. It's not easy to do it, but I think we are starting to see more of that, and we'll see more in the future, definitely.
Well, I guess every clinician typically only treats one patient at a time, so it's an N=1 approach with respect to clinical practice. But within the research, there is a challenge, there's a struggle to do research that reflects that, because of the nature of statistics, the nature of what you need to do around sample sizes, and also statistics as a whole science or approach and field by itself. And often, I guess we we go through the research process, we have to use those tools, but maybe without the sort of sometimes the best understanding of those tools. We know our field, but we have to then use other fields when we have to sort of sometimes use things that maybe don't get to the best answer. And trying to do analysis and research on individuals would be a great place to get to, because that would most reflect what actually happens day to day within clinical practice. So yeah, completely recognize that ability to profile the individual within a group and then deliver those individualized approaches and interventions.
Yeah. Instead of looking what's better than what, try to understand when is the time to use each kind of approach. So that's I think it's what
all right. So many things on the menu to select, and through your development over these years, you've clearly got many of those yourself as a clinician, but also I think with your teaching and global teaching, you've clearly developed that in many others as well. So that's having a great impact around the world. So Pablo, been great to talk. So thank you very much for your time today.
Yeah, thank you, Lincoln. It's been amazing. Thank you very much for taking the time to do this with me.
No, we've learned a lot there, Pablo, and we will talk again and do an update. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Lincoln. Bye-bye.
Catch you later. Bye-bye.
See you later. Bye-bye. Thank you, everyone.